I was definitely accepted into this program by mistake. I don't know how, but somehow I managed to successfully trick the entire admissions committee into thinking that I was good enough for this program when I'm not. Have you ever said statements along those lines to yourself before? I definitely have. And in this video, I'm going to share with you how you can get rid of that feeling of being an imposter and regain your confidence back because we really do need our confidence to excel in our studies. Hi, I'm Tolu. Thank you for tuning in. I'm so glad to have you here. So, the structure of today's video will be first, I'll share with you my experience with imposter syndrome while I was at ICTP. I did experience it even after I left ICTP Italy, but I'm going to share just the experience with you because if I was to share every single instance of my experience with feeling not good enough for the program I was accepted or admitted into to take more than one video. So I'm just going to share a little bit of my experience with you so you can really like have someone share their story with you and see that you're not alone because I'm sure you relate a lot to many parts of this story that I'll be sharing. And then I'm going to move into sharing tips with you that helped me. These tips I learned from some professors, from some of my peers, and some I figured out myself while I was trying to deal with imposter syndrome at the different phases where I experienced it. I wish I was an expert, but I'm not. After I left ICTP, I thought, okay, well, I think I'll do better now in the next program I'm in since I've learned a bit better to manage it. At BMS, however, I still experienced it to an extent, but I would say it was much better. And using these tips I had shared with you, some of them which I had learned at ICTP, really did make a lot of difference. I did feel a little bit like I was not good enough even while I was at the Berlin Mathematical School in Germany, but it wasn't as bad as it was at ICTP. And now I'm in the US and it's much more better. It's even more better still. I still feel like there are some things I should know and wonder why I don't know them, but I no longer feel like I'm not good enough. If there's something I don't know, well, I just take it and say, well, I don't know this, but it doesn't mean I'm not smart or that I can't figure it out. I don't know it now, but I'm going to learn it and I'm going to figure it out. And that's a better mindset to have. But when you feel like, oh, I'm the dumbest person in this class, why do I find everything so difficult? And you feel like a victim, it steals your confidence away. And when you don't have your confidence, there's very little you can do. Our confidence is very important. We sometimes underestimate it, but as students, our confidence is a vital part, a vital ingredient that makes for success. And we might not know it. You might not know it sometimes until you lose it. I never really knew that being confident in my ability to pass an exam really did have a major impact on whether or not I was motivated to study for that exam. Well, I'm going to go into that in more detail later in the video, but first I'll talk about my experience at ICTP. I became an international student for the first time in 2020 thanks to the International Center for Theoretical Physics, Italy. I was there for the postgraduate diploma program in mathematics and I was there for a year. Arriving at ICTP, everything was new. It was a new culture, many new courses, some of which I had not been introduced to previously during my undergraduate studies, which was fine. I mean, it's not bad to be newly introduced to courses. I wasn't the only one who was being newly introduced to those courses. Some of my classmates at ICTP were also encountering those courses newly. But what really made the difference into between us was I was so scared and I felt not good enough. I felt like I was the dumbest person in the class because it took me a long time to try to understand most of what was going on. Many of my classmates were picking up things really fast. Some of them had their master's degrees already. Some of them had done a few postgraduate courses or programs previously. Some were fresh from undergrad, just like me. I even had a classmate who took a completely different course in his undergrad and was at a diploma program for mathematics. And he was doing really well. So I felt, why am I the only one finding this so difficult? I found the courses really challenging. And over time, that really affected my confidence, and I felt I don't think I'm the right person for this program. Many times I would go to a room to study and I would just weep because I would pick up the material to study, and it would be so difficult for me to actually understand what was going on. Not that I wasn't understanding the material at all, but I was so slow. It was so slow. It took me such a long time, and I did not have the luxury of time because the program was really fast paced. We were expected to be able to soak up so much knowledge in such a short time. And I was finding it so difficult. And I wasn't used to it. I wasn't used to taking a long time to understand, like, things that I felt should be basic. At least it seemed basic to my classmates. So I was wondering why it felt so difficult for me. I would be in class and many people would be asking intelligent questions and really keeping up with the lecture. And here I would probably still be struggling with what the lecturer said in the very first lecture and the last lecturer. It was that bad. So it really did affect my confidence. Having classmates that were like that seemed to be doing so well while I was so slow. And we would have homework every week, and it would take me such a long time to figure out the homework. Many times I wasn't even able to finish up the homework because I didn't know what to do, and many of my classmates would find it so easy and submit. And so all of these factors together really made me feel not good enough for the program. And to make matters worse, at that time I was in a relationship that wasn't healthy and helping matters. So it was a distraction for me. On top of, so you can imagine, I was, even to be fair, whether or not I was in this relationship, I would already find those courses difficult. But now I then had that extra distraction to deal with. So like, it was a very difficult time for me, and it really did affect my confidence. There was the rule at ICTP that if you fail 2 courses, then you would have to be sent back to your home country. I really did think I would fail those 2 courses and would go back home and not complete my diploma program. I didn't see how I could pass the courses because it was so much material and so much of it was new. Now, when I look back, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't like my undergraduate study was not enough to prepare me for that program, but the lack of confidence that I already had really made studying difficult. So I would pick up a material without being confident in my ability to understand that material. I don't know if you get what I mean. If you've experienced it before, you probably understand this very well. So it was like a cycle. I don't know at what point the cycle started, but then my lack of confidence would somehow reduce my motivation to study. But that lack of motivation to study also made me to know less and to perform worse in class, and then it would then reduce my confidence again, and the cycle would continue. Over time, I learned to ask for help ask my classmates for help, and that really helped make things easier. There was also a doctoral student in the department that I approached to ask for help for some of the courses, and I saw that people were actually willing to help. I started to ask people for help instead of spending such a long time doing my own work and figuring it out myself. I would ask my classmates, and I never encountered a classmate who was not willing to help me. Most of the time, all the time they were willing to help me and put me through the homework. Then I was able to keep up with the homework. I also had I had 2 PhD students who were very helpful in putting me through homework, and then there were also other diploma students like myself that I expressed like my need for help too, and they were willing to help me. So they would help, and they really did help with homework and with preparing for some of the exams. Thankfully, I was able to complete the diploma program without failing any course. It was a miracle. I don't know how, but my CGPA wasn't that good. It's not that it wasn't that good. My CGPA wasn't great, my ICTP CGPA. But I was still so happy because imagine thinking you would fail 2 courses and not complete the program, and eventually actually being able to graduate. Your CGPA wouldn't matter much at that point, to be honest. That was how I felt. I was really happy, and I felt I was surprised, to be honest. I wish I could pour out my heart and you could see how I really felt in that phase. It was so difficult, and I was so glad to be able to graduate regardless of what my grades were like. After ICTP, I wish I could say, oh, I moved on to BMS and I learned and everything was perfect. But no, at PMS, I experienced something similar. But to be honest, I had learned a lot from my experience at ICTP, and it was much better. I did struggle a bit with feeling like an imposter, but I had learned how to deal with it a little bit at ICTP. First, one major thing I learned from ICTP was to ask for help when I needed it. So I learned to ask for help, and that really helped greatly with PMS. Sometimes I still felt like I was behind in the class and did not know as much as some of my classmates, but it was much better than it was at ICTP. And this is to tell you that because the unhealthy relationship I was in then while I was at ICTP ended. And while I was at BMS, I wasn't in this relationship anymore. And if the relationship was the sole problem, then it would have shown now, because at BMS, I would have had no struggles at all, and I would have gone on with being a bright, brilliant student. But no, I still struggled with feeling like an imposter a little bit in BMS, but it was much better. It was definitely much better. At BMS, I learned a few more things that really helped me to cope better with that feeling, to build my confidence back, to regain my confidence back. I learned from some of my classmates again, and some wise things some professors said that I heard from some professors, and then I used those tips again, and they really did help me a lot to regain my confidence. Now I'm in the US, I'm new here, and I'm also again much better than I was at the PMS. So in life, we really do get better the more we learn from experiences. Sometimes I still feel like there are some things that I should know that I don't know, but I no longer feel so bad. I no longer put myself down for it. I just simply say to myself, yes, I know I don't know this thing yet, but I'm going to learn it, and I'm well able to learn it. So now I'm confident in my ability to be able to learn a material, even though I presently don't know it. And that really goes a long way in changing the game. The point is not knowing everything. The point is being confident in the fact that you can learn that thing. Once you have that confidence, then there will be no course that will be so difficult for you, or well, it can still be difficult, but you won't be scared of it. And when you're not scared of the course, when you're not scared of exams, you tend to do much better. I'm talking from experience here. When I was in my undergraduate studies, I was never scared of during my undergraduate studies, I was never scared of exams. I really did look forward to exams because I was confident I would be able to write it. Since I resumed at ICTP, I became really scared of exams because I always felt unprepared for the exams. And that lack of confidence really did affect my ability to study for exams, and so consequently it affected my performance in those exams. So I'm going to share with you tips in this video that really helped me, and along the way I'm sure I'll share some more stories. But this is a brief overview of how it has been for me. I'm much better now. I'm in a different program, but I really do feel confident in my abilities to do well in the program. It's not like I know everything. There are many things that are still new to me, just like they were in ICTP. So the difference is not the difference is not in the fact that, oh, I know everything now. The difference is in my approach to those things that I don't know. There are many things I don't know, but now I'm confident that even though I don't know them yet, I can learn them, and I'm fit to be in this program and capable of learning those things that I don't know. I'm fit to have these classmates. I can interact with my classmates without feeling like I'm worse than them or not as brilliant or as bright as them. I feel like I also have something to give, and that really changes the game. Now I'm going to go into those tips, so stay tuned. So the first point on my tip here is don't compare yourself with others. Comparing myself with others really played a major role in why I lost my confidence. I would compare myself with everybody, and it would seem like everyone was doing better than I was. Everyone seemed to be understanding the material. Everyone seemed to be so confident. Everyone seemed to ask good questions. Everyone seemed to be completing their homework on time. Everyone except me. I didn't put into the consideration that it wasn't a fair comparison. No comparison is ever fair, because you can only make a fair comparison when you're comparing two things that are exactly the same. But I wasn't exactly the same with anyone else there, regardless of whether we were from the same country, had finished from the same university. whatever my basis for comparison was, it wasn't going to be fair because we are different. If everything about us was the same, then would be just one person. But I was different from everyone else there, and I should have compared myself with what was achievable, like for me, compared myself with myself basically. And instead of looking outward to see what other people were doing, I could have looked inward to see what I could actually do and what I was capable of, and that would have been much more helpful. But when constantly comparing myself to others made me feel like I was not good enough. Sometimes I would even compare myself to people who already had a master's degree. Like, of course they have a master's degree, then they already have been introduced to some of this material before. They have more experience with these topics than I have. They definitely will understand the material faster, but I didn't see it that way there, and I just really felt like I was the only one not doing so well in my exams and so on. So don't compare yourself with others, even if they seem to have very similar backgrounds to yours. It's never exactly the same. You are unique in your own way. Instead, look at yourself and see what you can do and do those things. Not say, oh, see what this other person is doing. Take note of what is unique to you and use that to your advantage. Don't look outward all the time. Look outward, but just to learn from others, not to put yourself down. I hope that's clear. And sometimes you also have to put into consideration that you are especially if you're an international student, you're not just like, and you're different from the local student in the sense that you are first in a new culture. You are expected to get all your registration done. You are getting used to new food. You're getting used to so many new things, and on top of that, you are studying. So your background is quite different, and sometimes your academic background could play a major role in why you are having you're taking a longer time to understand the course material than the local students are. And it might not be any of those things. It might just be that you are different, and it's fine to be different. So don't compare yourself with others. It really does damage to your confidence. The second thing is that you're more likely fit for the program than not. I hope that's clear. If maybe you're thinking that, oh, I'm not fit for this program, I definitely am not. I don't know how. Maybe my file was mistakenly placed among the list in between the files of the list of students that were supposed to be accepted into this program. I'm not good enough for this program. That's very unlikely. I think you are a good fit for the program. It's very unlikely that a committee, or committee, it's not, I don't think it's just one person that decides. In most cases, it's like a committee of academics will look into your application and together decide that you are fit enough to be accepted into this graduate program. If you're funded there, the government is funding you for the program, or whatever organization is funding you to attend this program, you can be sure that they won't pick someone who they don't think has the potential to not just complete that program, but to excel in it. So you're fit for the program. You might be finding it difficult now, but it doesn't mean that you won't be able to complete the program and to excel in it. The fact that something is difficult does not mean that it's impossible. It just means that it's difficult. And it will take more, it just means it will take a little more effort than something that was easy. So the fact that you're finding it difficult now doesn't mean that you're not fit for the program. You definitely are fit for the program. Your application was well reviewed. Well, there's a chance that there was some mistake and maybe there was some clerical error, but those chances are very low. In fact, the chances of that happening are very low. The chances that you were able to deceive a whole team of academics into thinking you were good for the program when you are not, it's also very low, like almost improbable. You are more likely than not an excellent fit for that program that you are in. And the fact that you're finding it difficult doesn't mean that it's impossible for you to excel in the program. You definitely can. You just need your confidence back, a lot of hard work, and the other tips I'm going to share in this video. So my third point here is to ask for help. Ask for help, please. I know you might not be used to asking for help, especially if you're used to understanding the material yourself. Maybe you're always been a very bright student. Maybe during your undergraduate studies, you were ahead of the class a lot and you could keep up with the material really quickly and hardly needed to ask anyone for help or for lessons or explanations. Well, that's fine. It's good that you were able to do that all along. But the truth is, if you do need help, ask for help. And when I say ask for help, I'm not saying ask for help when it's like getting to the end of this semester, when you are like at the end of your rope. Sometimes it's possible that you understand something, and this is something that was really helpful for me to learn. Sometimes maybe I have an homework. It's not like I can't figure out that homework on my own. But if I try to figure out that homework on my own, it might take me such a long time. And most times in this very intensive study program that we are in, we don't have that luxury of time. For example, I could work on an homework and it could take me like days to complete it or many hours at a stretch. So instead of trying, except if sometimes when I just really want to challenge myself and try to think about it, but there's sometimes that you know that you really are stuck on this work and it's not that you can't figure it out, but it will take you a very long time to figure it out. Ask for help. You can either ask your classmates for help or check online or ask your professor or a teaching assistant during their office hours. But you need to ask for help. Most times people are willing to help, but if you don't ask, no one is going to want to assume that you just need help. It's not like people don't care, but everyone is being careful. Imagine how weird it would be if someone approached you and said, "Oh, do you need help with your homework?" You will probably feel like, "Oh, are you trying to say I'm not good enough to understand this homework myself or to understand this material myself?" And you also wouldn't want to do that to someone, right? But if someone came to tell you that they needed help with something or with some explanation about the course material, you would be glad to help them. I think that's the way most of our classmates, professors, and teaching assistants are. They're glad to help. They won't want to be too forward with it. But if you do reach out to them and ask them, if you open your mouth and say that you need help, you'll find so many people willing to help you. So many. You would be okay, I don't know the word for that. But the point is that if you do need help, ask for help and you'll find it. So help with homework, help with understanding the material, and don't wait until it's too late because everybody is busy and people get busier when it's near exam time. So right from the start of the program, if you feel like you're finding something difficult, I know you might be used to doing things on your own and figuring things out independently. But put into consideration the fact that you're figuring out many new things at this point in your life. Later on, you might be able to get along well without depending so much on many people for help. But when you are starting, take all the help you can get, attend office hours, ask your classmates for help. Many times we underrate the help our classmates can give us, but when I was at ICTP, my classmates were so helpful. They were the reason why I was able to keep up with many of the homeworks, really taking their time to explain to me. I never was a group homework person. I used to do my homework individually during my undergraduate studies, but when I got to ICTP and the BMS, I really learned that when I did my homework in groups with people, it was much faster first. Then secondly, I also learned how to think in a different way, to approach like questions in a different way than I normally would. And it even helped me to do some homework that I would never have been able to do on my own. So please ask for help if you need help, and don't miss out on the office hours for either the TAs for the courses or the professor's office hours. Try as much as possible to attend the office hours when you can. They're very helpful. They're always willing to help, more willing to help than you think. If you are shy to ask questions in class, ask in the office hours. The next point on my list here is don't isolate yourself. Talk with others. Make sure you communicate. Many times, I think as humans, when we are struggling with something or when we feel like we are performing worse than others, we tend to want to keep to ourselves and to separate ourselves from others. But many times that's not helpful because then when you shut yourself out, you make things worse. First, people don't know what you are going through. Nobody knows if you are just killing it silently or if you're really struggling. Another point is that sometimes when you speak up, when you interact with people, you see that you're not the only one struggling. And while that is not a cause for you to triumph, like it's not something to make you glad to say, oh, we're all struggling, but somehow it does help. That sense of community that you get from talking with others, feeling that you are not alone in this, together we can figure this out, really helps. When I was at the PMS, for example, I had to spend one extra semester there because I had not gotten a PhD offer. I felt like I was the only BMS student who was having an extra semester, and I felt so bad about it. Like, oh, why do I have to do this? Why couldn't I just get a PhD offer? Like, almost everybody gets PhD offers. Then later on, I spoke with some students. I spoke with different students, and I found out that some other students do have to spend extra semesters for their masters while they figure out what they want to do. Some even have to take a semester away just to clear their head and so on. So I saw that I wasn't alone in this, but I'd already spent most of the time feeling bad and sulking and thinking that, oh, they're probably feeling disappointed in me for taking some extra funding for them. But it wasn't the case. I wasn't the only one. And if I just come up from the beginning and interacted more with other students and said, oh, this is what I'm going through, like, can you imagine I have to spend an extra semester? I'll probably have gotten people right from the get-go saying that, oh yeah, me too, but it's not a big deal. I spoke with this person and it's fine. I would have enjoyed that semester more than I ended up doing. So talk with others. If you're finding the course difficult, talk with others. Sometimes the part you're finding difficult might be different from what they're finding difficult, but at least express yourself. It also helps you not to feel depressed. And sometimes you might actually talk with others and you might be the only one finding the course difficult. That does not mean that you should feel bad, and that does not mean that talking with others doesn't pay. Even when you are the only one in that circle that is finding it difficult, letting people know what is going on, somehow it makes, like, okay, for example, imagine like 10 of us in the class and we all talk and everyone's like, oh, PD is going great, I'm really enjoying it, and for me it's not going great. Instead of keeping to myself and feeling like, oh, okay, it seems to be going great for everyone, let me not spoil the moment. I'm the only one who doesn't understand the scores. I don't know why I'm here to see. Imagine if I just spoke up and said, oh, I'm not finding it so easy. It's really difficult for me, like really difficult. Everyone there, more likely than not, will be willing to put in some hours to help me understand the course. And everyone says, okay, well, it's not that bad. I found it difficult at first too, but eventually I was able to keep up, and everyone shares their experiences and everyone puts in some time to explain some parts of the course to you. Like, imagine if you had kept to yourself. First, you don't get help. Second, you keeping things inside is not good for you. That's the point. You feel so bad for yourself. You could even get depressed. Talk about it. Let people know what's going on. Sometimes also talking with people, maybe not even students, for example, talking to your program advisor, it lets them know where you are and they can give you support, whatever support it is that you need. Sometimes it might be that you just need an extra semester to figure things out, instead of having to maybe fail a course and leave the program, or have something worse happen to you and that you end up not being able to complete the program. It could be that you just need some extra accommodations to help you have a smoother ride through the course. But if you keep to yourself and don't tell anybody anything that is going on, no one will know, and it will seem like no one is willing to help you. But the only reason why it seems like no one is willing to help you is because no one even knows that you need help. So talk with people. It doesn't have to be the whole world, but like at least have people, classmates that you can share with freely what's going on with you. Your program advisor or some other professor in the department or someone from the admin side of things. Be able to communicate whatever you're going on freely. There's a lot of support available for you. Sometimes I even learned, like here at Tufts, for example, there are accommodations for extra times for exams. For example, if you have exam as anxiety and you find exams like put you in a state of anxiety, you can get the accommodation for getting like extra time than your other classmates would have. But if you never speak up about it, you probably will never get to hear about this opportunity and you miss out on it, and then you might end up failing an exam when all you needed to pass the exam was just that accommodation, a few extra minutes. So speak up. Don't isolate yourself. I know how tempting it is to want to keep to ourselves when we feel like we are the worst people in the class, but don't do that. It does more harm than good. The next point on my list is hard work. You're going to have to work hard. There's no way to go around that. Hard work is really what's going to make the difference. You might ask for help, speak up about things, believe that you are good enough for the program, but if you don't put in the work, you won't know the material. And you definitely need to know the material to be proficient in that course. So you have to read yourself. You have to actually set out time to study really hard, use textbooks, take notes, whatever way it is that you study best. Make sure that you do that and do it repeatedly, over and over and over again. You can't escape working hard. So when you meet with people and they explain things to you, take out time yourself to understand those things, figure those things out, solve practice problems. Just put in a lot of effort. Put in effort such that it seems like it's too much. You get my point? It's better to put in too much effort and really understand the material than to end up putting effort that's not enough. So put in a lot of effort. Better to err on the side of it being too much than insufficient. Is that clear? The next point on my list, I really like this point because I found it so helpful, and it's don't take on so much workload at once. Don't take too many courses at once, for example, or don't take too many difficult courses, top high level courses at once. And the logic behind this is really interesting because I've experienced it personally. I'm going to share a quick story with you. When I resumed at the BMS, I took 3 courses my very first semester. I registered for 3 courses. At the beginning, they were going okay, but then at some point, as courses get more and more intensive over time, they all started to get really heavy, and I was struggling with the courses. It became so difficult. I ended up writing the exams for the courses, but I just had average scores in all 3 courses. In all 3 courses, I had the same grade, and all average. And that was my very first semester, and that really demotivated me for the next few semesters. My confidence level really went down. But imagine if instead of taking those 3 courses, I just took one of those courses and I had the highest grade in that course. I had, say, 99 or 100%. I would have been so excited. I would have felt so excited, like, wow, I love this school. I love these courses. I can really do well in this school. Like, I have a great start. Like, my CGPA is already boosted. Let's get right into it. And so that have also changed the course of the next few semesters I would have spent at BMS. So when you are new into a program or in a school, listen to advice from everyone around you. You probably will hear the advice a lot. Don't take on so many courses. And you may feel like, well, I can handle it. Even if you can handle it, just take a little bit at first. Of course, you should plan to make sure that even with taking a few courses at first, you'll be able to meet up with the requirements in the time frame. But most times you will, because the course calendar or the program is usually structured in such a way that you don't have to have so much workload at once. And the truth is, eventually you can take on more and more workload. Remember that your confidence is a vital determinant of whether or not you succeed in an exam or you succeed in your exam. So when you take one course and you really do well in that course, you have so much confidence. And when you study with confidence, studying with confidence is much different than studying without confidence. I don't know how it works, but when I study with the confidence that I can know this material and I'm going to pass this exam, I did pass in my first semester. I already had a perfect CGPA and I intend for that to continue. This course seems difficult, but I'm going to figure it out. And I can remember how last semester was, and that adds to my confidence and boost it. I perform much better than when I'm feeling like, oh, I already had an average score in my very first semester. I don't really know. This course is also seeming to go in that direction. When I approach the courses in those 2 ways, I get 2 different results. So you want to get your confidence high from the beginning, and then that way you keep up the tempo. So don't take on so many courses at once. Take on either a few easy courses. Of course, there's no course that will be so easy, right? Even when I say easy courses, I don't mean that I didn't have to study, but it did not require so much from me. like it did not that it didn't require so much from me. That's the wrong way to put it. Of course, but you get my point, right? Taking three courses is different from taking one course and focusing all my energy on that one course. I would definitely perform better with that when I take just one. So that's my point. Don't take on too much at once. Take on a little bit at a time, and then as you get more confidence, you can increase your workload little by little. It's a very important point. I'm sure you've heard it, so listen to the advice from all the people telling you. It really does make a difference. The last point on my list is say bye-bye to your boyfriend. Yaya is a Yoruba term for something that is distracting or unserious. But that's just a joke. I basically mean say bye to distractions, especially when you're a new student. You already have so many new things to do that are required and necessary. So you want to reduce all the extra clutter around it as much as possible. While having an unhealthy relationship at that time was not the only reason for my lack of confidence and for not performing so well in ICTP, it really was a major factor. It really did matter a lot. So you want to get rid of distractions as much as possible. Of course, your academics is just a part of your life. It's not your whole life. You have other things to manage. You have friendships, you have relationships, you might even have a business, whatever. But when I say distractions, I don't mean you should get rid of other activities. I mean things that drain you mentally, things that reduce your ability to focus or to put in your best. Basically, that's what I mean. So it's not necessarily. In fact, I found it detrimental to put all my focus on just my academics. Well, that's a story for another day. So I'm not saying don't do other things. Engage in other activities that you like to do, and you definitely need your relationships. You definitely need your friendships. You need people around you, and you need to invest in those relationships. So the point here is not no friends, no calling, no communication with anyone else. I'm studying. No, that's not the point. The point is to avoid things that drain you mentally, things that stress you, because already your academics take a lot of your mental work, and you don't want something that clouds your ability to think. Basically, that's the point. As much as it's within your control, try to minimize distractions. Those are the points I wanted to share, and I'll go over them briefly as I round up this video. The first point is don't compare yourself with others. Then second on my list is don't doubt whether or not you are fit for the program. The chances that you are fit for the program are much more higher than the chances that you're not. No, you did not manage to trick an entire committee of professors into selecting you, into thinking that you were fit for the program while you're not. The third point on my list was to ask for help. Go to office hours, ask your classmates for help when you need it. The fourth point was not to isolate yourself. Express yourself, talk with others, hear others share their experiences, share your own experiences, talk with your classmates, talk with your professors, your advisors. Just talk. It makes everything better for you. Next was to work hard, very important. Study the material, put in your best, and when you're writing the exams to put in your best, make sure you write all that you know. I know that sounds funny, right? But sometimes you can be lazy even in the exam or thinking, it doesn't matter. It matters. Write it down, put in your best, task your brain while you're in the exam, or try to bring out all the information that you actually have in your head and put it down. The next point is don't take on too much workload at once, little by little, because when you do well, you pass a first small step, you're more confident when you are about to step onto the next one. And that confidence, you really need it. You really need that confidence. So you want to have it with you. And the final point on my list was to eliminate distractions as much as possible. Minimize your distractions because you are doing a lot of new things. You are doing a lot of new important things. So those ones that can wait, please let them wait and focus on this. Focus on the important things that you have to do at the moment. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, as I'm sure you did, share with your friend. Please give a thumbs up so it can reach more people. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I share helpful content on academic life in general. Bye.